Morning, folks. Councilman Rasmussen here, coming to you with my update from our October 2nd City Council meeting last night. Actually had a very, very short agenda, though we did have a lot of public comments and a lot of discussion, so that's probably more of what I'll talk about. First and foremost, big updates, stuff for people to know. I mentioned this last time, the fall cleanup is coming, so if you have large items that you want to get out, in the Thursday Town Tidbits, there's a little bit more information about exactly what you can and can't do. Things like demolition debris, tires, paint, hazardous materials can't be picked up. But starting October 9th through October 20th is the fall cleanup. So our staff are going to be coming. Oops, dropped my phone. Our staff are going to be coming around in the tipper truck to pick that sort of stuff up. If you got it, get it out. If it's out after October 20th, then you're out of luck. You're going to have to deal with it yourself. So here's your chance. There'll be another time in the spring, so we do this twice a year. Remember that. Also, leaf collection is starting. Beginning actually yesterday, leaf collection is starting. So if you have leaves, you want to rake those out to the street, don't bag them. Rake them out to the curb. Our leaf truck will be coming around and vacuuming those up and disposing them. So those are the major updates as far as things going on. I've mentioned a few times also the Autumn in Duck Creek weekend is about a month away, so November 3rd and 4th. This is us trying to bring back a little bit of fun that the town used to do years and years ago, where a lot of the different downtown businesses, the downtown organizations, folks are all just coordinating and trying to do some different events that weekend. So there's a flyer in the Town Tidbits. There's a separate Facebook page for Autumn in Duck Creek that we've been posting the flyer up to. The general plan is Friday night. There's a couple of different things. There's some haunted walking tours that the Smyrna Museum is doing. And then Saturday, there's a bunch of events. There's an antique tractor show and car show in the Opera House parking lot, Opera House JBM area. There'll be stuff like a petting zoo, museum tours at the Smyrna Museum and the Firehouse, some church tours, and a variety of other events going on that day. So just a chance to have a lot of different things going on in downtown Smyrna. We encourage you to come out, check it out, enjoy, hopefully find something new, something you haven't done before. So, those are our major updates for the week. There will be some fire hydrant flushing coming up. So this is a time where sometimes you might see, depending on where you live, we don't really see it much here, but some folks will see a little bit of like brown tint to their water while they're flushing the fire hydrants, because if there's a dead end or something and when they flush it, it might pull some sediment through it. October 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. So middle of the month, there's going to be some fire hydrant flushing. You might see a little discoloration to water depending on where you live and if you still have iron pipes in your area. That's the big update stuff. As far as the actual agenda from last night, we really only had 4 items. The first was a final reading of it was supposed to be a final reading, but then we realized it was probably a second reading, but then later on we realized it may have actually been the final reading. We're going to do it one more time. That's what we're going to do. For the changing the vacant property fees for commercial buildings to better reflect the impact that those empty buildings have on the town. So one more reading for that ordinance, Ordinance 1423, will be coming up next month. That was the old business items. As far as new business, we had 2 rezonings. These are, like we've had lots in the past, these are rezonings to bring different zoning properties into the correct zoning code that was established in our 2020 comprehensive plan. These are 2 properties downtown that were zoned either R2 or R3 residential that should be now zoned downtown residential. And the property owners want to, one, it's an empty lot and they want to build a small house on it. The other one is an existing barn that they want to, I think, raise all or most of and build a small house on. So that's coming up. It's just pretty much administrative thing that we need to do because we've got literally probably thousands of properties in the town that should be rezoned to meet the requirements of the 2020 comprehensive plan. And then we did the annual resolution establishing Halloween. This is one that gets a little bit, it's a sort of a strange thing, but the logic behind it has carried for a long time. The town establishes that we do Halloween on Halloween, and we establish the hours from, I think it's 5 to 8 p.m. And there are some folks who bristle at this every year. Why are you telling us when we can do trick or treating? And the reality of it is the town's not telling anybody when they can do trick or treating or who can go trick or treating. But there are folks every year who reach out to the town and complain if there are kids coming around later than they think that kids should be out. And unfortunately, it's a thing where some folks just, they don't feel comfortable with kids coming up and knocking on their door at 9 o'clock at night, right? And so they want to know that there's some sort of, the town is encouraging activity between certain hours. So we do this resolution every year. Go out and trick or treat. Just have a good time. Do whatever you want to. Be respectful. Have fun. That's what matters. I know my kids will be out. I don't know everything that's happening. I know JBM is doing their haunted house again this year. I don't know if the police station is doing their haunted house again this year. I'll probably ask and find out and share more about that. But other fun things, we always go and we hit South Street, some of the blocks around downtown, and it's a great time. So hope to see folks out for that. So those were the agenda items for it. We did have a lot of community members that were there last night. And most of the folks were there really to address one issue that has been going on for a very, very long time, which is Locust Street. So Locust Street has, for coming up on 10 years or so, had a problem with sewer gas smells emanating from either one of the manholes on Locust Street or all the way down at the end where the pump station is. I think going back to like 2014 or so is when I guess this is identified as a problem. The prison in Newcastle County, technically the state prison, actually pumps their sewage into our sewer system. There's a pump, a force main line from the prison, and at a certain point on Locust Street, it dumps into our gravity-fed sewer system and then flows into that pumping station that is owned by Kent County, right down there by Mill Street and Locust Street. Where it pumps in has been a problem. We've tried to put in scrubbers to help with the smell, carbon filters, but the reality of it is that the state, for a very long time, has failed to maintain their sewage treatment that they're supposed to do at the prison. And they're putting sewer with a lot more hydrogen sulfide gas into the system. It actually is what led to the collapse of our sewer line on Locust Street that needed to be replaced almost 3 years ago. There is a plan in place to replace that entire sewer line. It's about halfway done now. The rest of it is on schedule. We've gotten the bids for it. But this is really a problem that's an agreement between the state and Kent County, and the town's sewer system just happens to be this midpoint. And unfortunately, the state has failed to live up to what their obligations are, and Kent County is failing to live up to their obligations in their agreement with the state. It is an issue for town residents because we are the ones, not we, sorry, this does not impact me and I don't want to sound like it does, that there are residents of our community who are impacted by this because the smell associated with the state's failure to do what they're supposed to do is impacting our residents and their quality of life and potentially their health. But the state has dragged its feet. The state has done as little as possible and made it as difficult as possible for our public works team to get this problem addressed, to get state resources to address it. It is basically an abject failure on the part of the state of Delaware and the state's leadership in order to be able to address this. Obviously, people are upset, right? People are pissed. There were a lot of people there last night who are very upset that they have had to live with this problem. Us replacing the force main, which is our pipe, instead of having a gravity-fed main, having a force main, meaning that there's no place for any gases to come out, all the way to the pump station is on our agenda. It's on our plan. The state should be helping with that, but they are not, because they are failing to do what they are supposed to do. That will get at least some of this problem addressed, in that there will not be any sewer gases coming out anywhere in the middle of Locust Street anymore through the manholes. However, it still doesn't address the fact that the state is failing to do what they're supposed to do with their treatment from their prison, not our prison, their prison. And it also doesn't address all the potential concerns at the Kent County pumping station, because there are septic trucks and things that then they go and they pump out their septic into the system there at the pumping station. You've probably seen the septic trucks there. And that is another place where sewer gases can be released, because they're pumping sewage into that system. There is a very long-term plan to put in another pumping station somewhere down near Cheswold that's not near residential areas, but that is a long way out, and Kent County has not done the work yet to make that happen. So we can address part of this problem. The long-term solutions are going to take a lot longer and cost a lot more money. But in the end, the town has gotten stuck, and our residents have gotten stuck with this problem because of the state's failure to do what they're supposed to do, and then the downstream issues that's caused for our community. People are upset. We're going to try and put as much pressure on the state as we possibly can to get them to address this, both quality of life and potential health concerns. But people were there to certainly share that. And another one that came out of last night was, we have a couple of residents who were there to see what the town could do about some people who are feeding feral cats. I've actually had experience with this problem up in Newcastle County when I lived there, where we had a neighbor who was feeding feral cats, and those cats were then breeding and pooping everywhere, and it is a massive nuisance. And unfortunately, there's actually protections that allow people to do this in state law. So we've got our public work, our planning and zoning, building and inspections head and the chief of police trying to look into what we can actually do to address this. But if you had a neighbor who was feeding 15 cats and they were pooping in your yard and having babies under your deck, your quality of life would be severely diminished. And it's really sad that people in our community would just do something like that and not consider their neighbors. I've said this before, I'll continue to say it. It doesn't take a lot to be a considerate person, but there are some folks who choose simply not to be considerate, just do whatever they want, and not realize that it is us all living together in a community that can make this a wonderful place to live, or a problematic place. And we do have members of our community, like these folks, who are apparently choosing to diminish the quality of life of their neighbors because they want to feed a bunch of cats on their back porch. So we're going to look and see what we can do. I know that this is a problem because I've been through it before. There are very few protections or very few things that you can do. Feral cats are considered wild animals. People like birds, you're allowed to feed them. But they obviously have a much more detrimental impact on a neighborhood and a community when somebody is sort of abusing that amongst their neighbors. So those are two big concerns that was a lot of our meeting last night, was sort of discussing some of those items and hearing from it. It is always tough when people in the community show up and have problems, and people often feel that the council has a lot of tools to address these things, and in many cases the council doesn't have as many tools or as much ability to address these kind of things as we would like to. So it's kind of tough sitting there knowing that the hurdles to addressing this are in many cases out of our hands. So that was it. Relatively short agenda, long conversation. Remember, yard waste collection starting next week. Leaf collection already started. Autumn at Duck Creek, November 3rd and 4th. Come out, join us, have a good time downtown for events like that. Also, a couple little things today. Actually, I'm not probably going to make it to this, but they're DMEC is opening a lineman's training yard. So our electric comes through DMEC. DMEC has a lot of training that they do for the linemen. Our team is part of that. Our linemen are out. They're the ones up on the bucket trucks fixing the lines, doing all of that sort of work. They need to get trained and retrained all the time. So there's actually going to be a new training facility that's opening today out in the industrial park. And a shout out to a couple of our linemen who for the last number of years have been participating in a project to bring electricity to the rural Navajo Nation. They go out every year for a couple of weeks and put in poles and put in transformers and run lines to bring electricity to people in this country who still do not have access to reliable electric service in their homes and their communities. So there was a nice little award ceremony. There's some plaques in the front of Town Hall. If you get a chance to go in there, check those out. It's a neat project, and Smyrna's certainly happy to be able to participate in it. So, hope everybody has a wonderful week. Our next council meeting is going to be October 16th. I actually won't be attending. I'll be away that week, so I probably won't have an update after the next one, as I won't be there. But yeah, that's it. Take care. Have a wonderful Tuesday and a wonderful week.